Hello and welcome to the Free Cheese episode 385. I'm your Joe Dix, joined by Marc Augustiniak.
Hey.
Matt Zellner.
Hello.
The Free Cheese is a weekly video game podcast about video games brought to you once a week by thefreecheese.com. We've got stuff to talk about, stuff to get excited about, a brand new weekly recurring segment that will go on ad infinitum, and stuff about Resident Evil. But first, how is everyone doing this fine morning?
Just jamming out to some classic rock tunes.
Classic rock tunes. What is your number one actual legitimate classic rock tune? If you find yourself in a 7-Eleven and the guy's just got like a classic rock station on and a song comes on and you're like, boy, I wish I were in a garage turning wrenches right now. What do you want to hear?
I think first things that came to mind was obviously Toto, Hold the Line.
Yeah, that's a great one. And that works double because usually when you're in a garage, the toilet seat is made by Toto.
No. I got it. Journey, Separate Ways.
Oh, also, yes. Classic. Matt, you're bringing in the classic hits down there on 107 The Bay. How's everything down there on the Bay?
It's great. My answer would have been probably Running with the Devil by Van Halen. In case you were wondering. Yeah, no, we're good. Little sleepy boy. I'm just up late playing Call of Duty, Whenever I don't work the next day, just running it,
That's the name of the game. I need to do another late night, stay up and whatever, but I keep going to bed at, I don't know what time, but I go to bed and just fall right asleep. But I need that late night game. I ain't got that late night game. But maybe I will have that late night game if Resident Evil keeps me awake. This week, Capcom had a Resident Evil presentation that announced the release date for Resident Evil Village, May 7th. Coming to PS5, PC, Xbox One, Xbox Series X, PlayStation 5, and PlayStation 4. The PlayStation 4 and Xbox One versions we did not know about until this week. Users who purchase PlayStation 4 or Xbox One versions will be able to upgrade to the PS5 and Xbox Series versions for $0 additional dollars. There's a Maiden demo out now for PlayStation 5 where you do not play as Ethan Winters, but instead as the Maiden. Thoughts on that one?
So
not that you guys have played it. I'm just asking, like...
Yeah. I mean, I did watch a playthrough of it. It's pretty cool. It's quite a spectacle to look at. I'm thinking this is going to be like because it's weird that it's exclusive for PS5, but I get it. But I think this is going to be like a dummy finger situation.
Dummy fingers.
So like the Resident Evil 7 demo like kept updating until the game's release, and they kept like teasing this dummy finger, like this mannequin finger or whatever. And like they made such a big deal about it that in collectors it was like shaped as a USB drive. And turns out it wasn't that big of a deal. So I'm thinking if this affects the main game in any way, it'll probably be like there might be like an item in a level or like a note from like this person that might help you later, like something really like not that significant to the story, but a cool nod.
Yeah, I'm curious if they will. I did not even think that this Maiden demo was similar to the Kitchen demo until we're just talking about it now, but yeah. I forgot they did that. Was that Kitchen one also exclusive to PlayStation?
Kitchen is separate from the Resident Evil 7 demo that kept changing. Like, Kitchen was like its own...
Kitchen was the thing they kept previewing before we knew Resident Evil 7 was in development. Then they morphed it into that demo, correct?
Right. Okay, I remember now.
Yeah, I think you could still access both separately.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I'm thinking because PS5 gets Maiden, I think because they said it would get another demo closer to the game's
release.
There's
another demo that's going to release for all platforms later on in the spring.
So I think that one might be similar to what we did with 7 if they decide to stick to the course.
Yeah. It makes sense, like, you know, the way that they're kind of like, they did something right, so let's keep doing it. You know, they did it with 2 and then the 3 remake. You know what I mean? I think that obviously the 3 remake was a little bit different than 2, but in terms of like their approach to it seemed similar. So if it worked for 7, why not do it again? There's also multiple editions of the game you can order. Of course, you have the standard edition. There's a deluxe edition for $10 more than the standard that includes different weapon and accessory and some 7 inspired found footage screen filters, as well as special safe room background music and immediate access to an especially challenging difficulty setting. There's also a $219 collector's edition, which includes a poster, steelbook case, Chris Redfield, not to be confused with the Final Fantasy XVI protagonist, but a Chris Redfield figure, collector's box, and an art book. Can't have that without an art book. We also... We'll come back, we'll talk about gameplay in a second, but we also got our first look at... If you guys recall, last year they showed off some really nifty 25th anniversary of Resident Evil artwork. And we now know that that artwork is the cover to Resident Evil Reverse, which before we were recording, you guys were both talking about how excited you are about this one. Resident Evil Reverse, a new multiplayer game for PlayStation 4, Xbox One, and PC, which will be included free with purchases of Resident Evil Village. Resident Evil Reverse allows you to play through as your favorites in a multiplayer shooter.
Yeah, that silence, I think, is our reaction.
Yeah.
You did not cut
4
out
to
Joe.
6 person deathmatch battles. 5-minute death matches where the player with the most points wins. Use weapons and items you find to take down even more powerful enemies.
And it's like, is Capcom doing any market research? Like, who's asking for this?
I mean, they have different teams doing all this stuff too. So
I mean, I know that. I
don't know how well they communicate with each other. Or
I
what.
just feel like they've done this like 3 times before now, and it doesn't work. Or like one is not good. I don't think people ask for this either. Like, I don't remember anyone screaming for Umbrella Corps.
If it was co-op, it would be fine.
Yeah, I don't know why you can't do like a co-op Mercenaries thing. Like, I think that would have been fine, but I don't like competitive. These games don't play like competitive games. I don't know. And also, it looks weird. It looks like they just straight up pulled a character model out and threw some cell shading into it, so that way you don't have the high texture, the high level textures bogging down like the CPU or your system, so that way they can add in more character driven or character controlled players in these environments that they've already established. It's I don't know, without even really being a developer, it looks like a hack job. It just does not look good at all.
So, you said this comes free when you buy Village. It's not like on. Excuse me, jeez. It's not like on the same disc. If you bought like a physical version, it's like maybe like a separate code or something. Or.
Oh, I mean, I don't think it says specifically. It just says it's included free with Village. So.
I mean, it could be a code. I mean, I understand this being digital because it's online anyway. So like you have to have it already. Yeah. But like
I just wasn't sure like if somebody were to like install this on your system, if it's like installing that as well. But if it's a separate file, then maybe not.
How did they do it with Resistance when you bought 3?
So when I bought 3 on Steam, it just started installing everything, but it is a separate thing. Okay. It's not built into Resident Evil 3 to play it. So I was like, I'm going to right click and remove from library, please. Don't.
I imagine it would be the same way here.
Yeah,
like you put in the disc, everything just starts installing.
I just didn't know how it would be for consoles. If it like does it all at once and not tell you.
I think on Xbox One when I tried, I don't remember. I feel like it was a separate download for Resistance, but I can't remember. But I never bought 3, so I don't know what it looks like from that experience. Speaking of 3 remake, there's been rumors about this 4 remake, and this week following the presentation, rumor is that Resident Evil 4's remake has been brought back in internally to Capcom Development Division 1 after, is it
M2.
Not that M2, but a different M2.
I think the 2 is actually written out.
Yes, it's M-TWO. Apparently, they partially contributed to the development of Resident Evil 3 Remake, but now, after a key project review in late 2020, Capcom has decided that its internal consumer games development division 1 would take over as lead developer on the project, significantly reducing M2's role. This is all rumor, but the rumor is that the change is believed to be a result of M2's desire to faithfully reproduce the format of the original Resident Evil 4, while Capcom's production team wants it to be inspired by the original game, but introduce its own unique take on features, story elements, and environments, kind of how Resident Evil 2 reimagined Mr. X. Jumping back to 8 real quick before we move on, we did see gameplay, so we're back in first person, which I think we knew, but we get to see that in action this time around. We get to see a little peek at what I assume are the witches. Bunch of
crows
ladies with big hats and robes and whatnot. A lot of birds we see. There's some very European Gothic elements at play here. Visually, I'm really drawn to this one. I think it looks really cool and weird. I don't know how we're getting from 7 to there, because honestly, I still haven't played 7, but I installed it on my Xbox One, so I'm gonna make the jump. I'm doing it. Anyway, yeah, so that's there. Mark, you are, I think of the 3 of us, you're in it. How do you feel about what we saw of 8?
I have no doubts with this game. Like, I have full confidence that it's going to do well. I can't think of anybody that like has a serious disdain for this for whatever reason. I mean, it's also too early because the game's not out yet. But just visually speaking, I don't know. It just seems like all checks across the board. Like it's kind of. I love that they're still going in a new direction that 7 started, sticking with that theme. But then it's also like a callback in a way to like you have a similar setting to 4, and then on top of that you also have a similar setting to some of the older games by going into a like a mansion castle type. I mean, yeah, 4 had a castle, but like the insides of this place, the way it's decorated, just reminds me a lot of like the Spencer Mansion and stuff. And it just seems like a good blend all around. Adding more supernatural elements too is just a plus. Like I always welcome that. And that was kind of like the 4's early design. Like they were going to go to that route originally. Yeah. So it's nice that they're exploring that further.
Because it's, I think that not that zombies are tired, but like. What else do you got? Like you can't keep telling the same story of a city being overrun and dealing with whatever. And this is taking it new places. How do we feel about the shopkeeper?
The Duke.
Yeah,
that's gonna be so silly. I can't wait to see how he pops up in other places.
Yeah, I know it'll be like the 4-1.
Look, if anyone's shit on the Duke, they obviously don't remember how ridiculous the merchant was in Resident Evil 4, just always being around the corner. What are you buying? I got 2 quick things. Resident Evil Village. I'm a little. I mean, not that the Resident Evil timeline is doesn't have its fair share of plot holes or whatever, but like I'm curious because we heard about that shift from this being a Revelations game to being a main core game, how they kind of like pivot the main narrative of Ethan to this. It's kind of like when a movie is supposed to be something else, but then they rewrite it into a franchise, kind of like. So I'm kind of curious to see how that shakes out. There will be any weird plot holes, major ones, or something like that. And then 2, the Remake 4 thing smells like Final Fantasy VII, and if there's any hope for, there's any hope for Resident Evil 4 to be Game of the Year, there it is, to bring it back inside. So
I hope that. Well, I guess we're gonna shake that this year. Are there any big remakes on the books for release this year that we know of? I guess like jury's out on like Skyward Sword and stuff. Like they might do something like that with I don't know.
Oh yeah, something Zelda related maybe.
I don't know. Yeah,
Blue Points, Metal Gear Solid.
No, I'm excited. I think I need to. I was telling you guys before we recorded, but like I've been struggling to find the thing to jump into, and I've been all over the place. Literally every platform I can think of, every whatever. So I'm stuck in a rut, and I think I need to just pick a lane, and maybe Resident Evil is the lane. 7 seems like a good thing to get lost in. Yeah, anything else on Resident Evil before we... Huh?
Since 7's a good haunted house experience.
Yeah, kind of, yeah. I want that. Final word on Resident Evil Village or any of the other stories?
I just hope... I hope my theory... I'm sure it's a lot of people's theories, but I hope Chris is a werewolf.
That'd be cool. And then they have DLC where you play as him, as the werewolf.
Oh my god, that would be so perfect.
Yeah.
I doubt at this point that there's going to be any kind of VR stuff for this game, especially on PlayStation. Because I figured this would have been by now. Yeah, this would have been a time to announce it if that was the case.
Yeah.
But who knows? It could be a last minute thing or whatever. But that's just me.
I don't want to get too off topic here, but I think that just kind of relates to like the ambiguity with the PS5 and VR going into the future. I think this is just like a victim of that almost. Yeah. I don't think they're shying away from it, but also like we don't know what's going on with that right now.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, I would hope for a PC VR version, of course, but
yeah,
that's fine. I'll still accept it the way it is.
I hope Reverse is not as bad as what it looks to be.
Yeah, I know. Well, speaking of PCs and VR, Valve, specifically Gabe Newell, spoke with in an interview with New Zealand One's News. Gabe's still hanging out in New Zealand. I'm just going to read some of the quotes here. Quote number 1, we definitely have games in development that we're going to be announcing. It's fun to ship games. Half-Life Alyx was great. To be back doing single-player games, that created a lot of momentum inside of the company to do more of that. When asked about Half-Life 3 or Portal, he says, I've successfully not spoken about those things for a long time, and I hope to continue to not talk about them until they are moot questions. Then maybe we'll move on to a new set of questions. The nice thing is, by not answering those questions, I avoid the community coming up with new, equally difficult to answer questions. And finally, when asked about something, a VR asymmetric multiplayer game codenamed Citadel, he says, we have a bunch of code names. Are you referring to a code name? I don't know what Citadel is. What is Citadel? I don't know why I'm saying Citadel like that, but I'm going to keep saying Citadel like that. So what do you think? Valve, I kind of want them to make new stuff. I mean, it sounds like he's, in so many ways, saying moot point, as in, like, yeah, we're still making Half-Life and we're still making Portal stuff, but you know what I mean? And people will shut up once those things are out. But I also kind of hope that we can see a newer, like, I don't know. And is it all in VR? Who knows what they're
Are you joking?
What?
Valve's been making new stuff. No one's playing it though.
Because it's not good. Make good stuff. Matt.
No, it's plenty good. Artifact, great game. I don't know why that fucking burned.
Are you playing it?
No, because they fucking killed it.
No, they brought it back.
I'm waiting
for 2.0.
I'm waiting for this beta. I'm waiting for the 5-year-old drawings on the cars to go away. It's not that immersive right now.
I'm in the beta, so I know you're in the beta.
I'm in it. I played it. I like it. I think it's great again. I just need car designs. It's a little taken aback when you have elementary school drawings and stick figures. And Dota Underlords, auto chess.
not a. Yeah, I mean, rip off. So there's that.
Hey, that's a new game at least. Oh, Half-Life, it's a first-person shooter. That's a rip-off of a first-person shooter. Like, come on.
They had stuff in the works, but like that all got canceled just because, they didn't have a complete engine at the time either. So they were juggling a bunch of things at once, and like the way they run things, they don't really have like one person in charge of everything. It's just they were at a point where everybody could just do their own thing, and whatever sticks to the wall works. But like trying to get people to agree to work in those little things was like another problem. So I think they're a little more organized now. But like, they had a game that was all about like manipulating size, and it was like it was like a first person, I think, narrative game, but but the setting of it was so weird and bizarre. Everything had like a voxel look to it. And so like that seemed pretty different from what they're known for. I don't know if they'll all be VR, the games that they have coming up. I'm sure they'll still. I don't think they want to fully alienate their audience unless they make Index a little more like accessible. Or yeah. I mean, I guess you'll need Index, but if you want to use the full like the way they made those controllers, and it's not like anything else. But I'm sure you can use an Oculus for a lot of their games too, and it'd be just as fine.
Well, with their VR output so far, with the Index and Half-Life Alyx specifically, I mean, is there anything maybe, I don't know, that you might be able to talk about a little bit more in depth about Half-Life Alyx? Or
oh, funny you say that, because I happen to own a Valve Index now.
Got your own little companion cube.
Cheeky.
Yeah. Man, I first I'm still like not over the controller, and listeners won't be able to see this, but I want to show you two at least exactly like what it looks like. So this is the front of it, and it's just like the two buttons. There's like a weird dip in the center for your thumb to rest, which is actually like a kind of a trackpad in a way, and then a joystick, and then there's just a trigger on the other side.
Is it comfortable in that way? Like, does it feel? It looks like it feels perfect.
So there's like a little like strap right above the handle here that's all like padded, and then you just do a pull string, and it'll keep it secure so you can be hands free.
Nice.
And it won't go anywhere. Like it feels good for your thumb to just rest there, but like, so those face buttons on the top, they're B and A buttons, and the trigger, and then there's kind of like a weird, you can kind of see like a line cut out where the rest of your fingers would go. Where that's all like the trigger, and it's all haptic based. And even just resting my fingers on it in the Steam VR, it detects your fingers not even pressing those buttons. Like even the face buttons on top detect that your thumb is on top of them.
Oh, that's cool.
Not even pressed in. And so like it's crazy how it's able to like see and feel all that and mimic that inside of a game, especially Half-Life Alyx, which is probably like its greatest tech demo. But
so how is Half-Life Alyx? That was one that I think we were a little bit disappointed we didn't have as part of our Game of the Year conversation. But the barrier to entry is pretty heavy, so of course it wouldn't be. But I think especially when we did our retrospective and you talked about Half-Life, kind of the journey to get to where you are now with, you've played it, you bought a Valve or an Index, you know what I mean? Like, how's the actual game?
It's like second nature. I am impressed with this. I know that game has come a long way. There's like, especially if you decide to ever read through Jeff Keighley's The Final Hours of Half-Life Alyx, it gives you a lot of insight with Valve in general. I kind of wish I read that after, because it does spoil some things, but that's fine. But yeah, the game, I don't know where to start with it. Like the way they throw you in there, it's like, it takes place between Half-Life 1 and 2. So obviously you're playing as Alyx, and this is when Gordon is in his stasis or whatever. like it immediately throws you in at like you're in her apartment, but you're like on a balcony, and you're just seeing the city as it's like slowly being like taken over, and it's not fully the developed City 17 you see in Half-Life 2 yet, but it's like it's pretty much there. But the way you're just able to like mess with everything on that balcony is like a very good start to this game. Like it lets you get your bearings without rushing you or forcing you to listen to somebody talk to you for a while, or it doesn't feel like a tutorial. It's like, hey, like do this to do this, hit this button to do this. It's like, no, you just do whatever you want, man. You see that soda can over there? Go ahead and grab it. All right, grab it. And then like I slowly start to squeeze it, and I can see the can getting crushed as I'm squeezing it. And it's like it's not just one frame to a perfect can to a crushed can. Like you see the animation of that thing getting crushed. And I was just impressed by that. And I chucked it at a pigeon.
Yeah, I mean that level of immersion, I think, like it can be easily taken for granted. But I still remember Red Faction breaking walls in that game and being so impressed that you could see real-time destruction in a game, like because you're so used to there's visual tricks and there's art tricks that developers have done throughout the years to make things feel a certain way, but to actually have what you're doing change something in the game like that, it adds that level of like immersion, and I think in VR probably even more so.
Yeah, and then like the main like mechanic in this game is the gravity gloves, and obviously which kind of feels like a prototype to the gravity gun in Half-Life. But like the way they implemented this, like again, it's like second nature. Like you don't think about it when you're using it. Like you would stick your hand out, like all your fingers basically, at something until it's highlighted, and then you kind of just like you like kind of grab and flick your wrist, and the item will just come to your hand, and then you can like catch it. And I do that so much in the game without even realizing that I'm doing it half the time, and it's just I thought it was going to be annoying. But like getting ammo is cool because it's like I can see it in the distance. I know I can't get over there, so it's like, you know, grab it. And then I know you have to put it over your shoulder to put it in your inventory. So like whenever you are firing, say pistol, and I run out of ammo, I actually have to hit a button on a controller, like the face button, to drop the clip out of the gun, pull out a clip from over my shoulder, put it into the gun, and then you actually have to like manually reload all your guns. And it like it's cool, but at the same time it definitely adds more intensity to a firefight when like you need to reload and you're being shot at.
Do you have to duck and stuff as well at that point, like to take cover while you're being shot at?
Yeah, I mean I think you have an option to just click in the right stick to do like an automatic crouch, because they try to make this game as accessible as possible. Like a lot of this is designed for like if somebody only has like one arm they can use. That's why a lot of this relies on like the way your guns are in this game, like the shotgun, the machine gun, your pistol. All of it is they're all like single-handed guns, so you don't need two hands to try to hold it and aim it. The way it works, it's so perfect.
So how does the index, like, is there room tracking? Because I know that was the thing with the newer Oculus where they have those outward-facing cameras that will kind of scan the room. How do you set that up?
So this does have the two cameras on the front. I don't particularly use that. I think it's all like an option, or unless it's on the whole time, I'm just not aware of it. But you can have it to where like you take your controller and you could set a parameter of your play space, and it will let you know if it's too big or small, depending on your style. So you can have like I don't think you have to worry about a perimeter if you're doing just a standing or like sitting position kind of game and you're not moving anywhere. But if you want to move around, you have to build a parameter. So like I would do that, and I have these two base stations that came with it that kind of like scan that area too. So I'm thinking I'm using that more than anything. So you could have it to where if you're going towards the edge, you would see the lines kind of appear in the game very faintly. Or you could have it to where the cameras would work, and you would kind of start to see your surroundings kind of start to like opaque in a little bit. But I have it to where if I hit like basically like a guide button on my controller, a little screen pops up next to my controller that shows me what's actually in front of me. So I just do that instead. But I think rarely I've run into anything.
Yeah.
I had to duck once and I had to like put my hand on the ground to keep balance, and I forgot that like I'm by like my like racks of shirts or whatever, and I grabbed the shirt by accident, and, like freaked me out for a second because I was like, no, that's not ground.
Do you think that Half-Life Alyx is the Mario 64 for VR?
Yes, I think because I think that was definitely one of their. I think that was pretty sure that was one of their examples of like they wanted to like have the hardware and the software be so in sync with each other.
Yeah.
That like that for like that full complete experience of it to get the best out of it and the most out of it.
Yeah, the way you described how the controllers work and how it comes to life in the game, like that definitely suggests that they've really considered hardware and software in tandem. I wonder how they'll continue to do that, or I wonder if there's other developers who will take advantage of the hardware in a similar way.
Yeah, I mean, one can only hope. Like, I think this is a good start. I think, obviously it's not going to be as long of a game as Half-Life 2 or something. Because, you know, the way VR is right now, we're still early in this type of tech. And, you know, you got to give yourself a break every here and there. So, like, that being said, I think this is definitely a good starting point for what they can do now that they have a full engine done and a lot of the stuff out of the way, and development of the index hopefully is out of the way, unless they're making like a, you know, sleeker, better version that's wireless or something. I don't know, but whatever. If Half-Life 3 ever does happen, I don't know if it would be fully VR. I could see them maybe trying to appeal to both audiences, or maybe go back to mouse and keyboard for money reasons. I don't know, but whatever they do with VR, I think it can only get better.
How has the headset held up for other things? Are you jumping in other games and feeling like they're better for it? Are you finding that like only certain things work well in VR, or?
Oh, no, that's the thing I forgot to even mention about the headset. It does have a built-in mic towards obviously towards the front of the headset, and you don't need headphones. It has its own let's see if I can. So it has its own headset basically.
That's
for
cool.
For your ears. They just hover. Like they're never covering your ears, so you're not canceling outside noise around you. But the way the stereo, like the 3D audio works with this, like it finds a way to still make it sound like you're still wearing headphones without you like canceling anything. It's weird how they design that.
Cool.
Does Marc Cerny have his hands on his tech?
Probably.
Do you still feel, or do you still hear things in your environment? Like, you know, because that was the one thing I liked about VR having headphones on, is that total immersion. And it was also kind of like the reason why I never pursued it too hard, because I figured I was setting myself up for someone to come home from work and mess with me.
Oh no, like the way the volume works, like I think it's just loud enough to where you can still hear the game completely fine, and but you could still hear somebody probably walking up behind you or trying to talk to you without like ruining anything. So like if anything, you could just flip one of those things up and whatever and go back. But yeah, cool. It's cool how thoughtful they went from this, especially going from the Vive into this. It's just cool to see that evolution. The one thing for me, I don't know if everybody would have this problem, just be me because how my face is shaped or something, but like the gasket that goes around your eyes, that padding, it is soft, but I think after a while it starts to like wear down a little bit, like the cushion of it or whatever, and it starts to hurt like around my temples and like kind of like not exactly around my cheekbones, but like mostly around the forehead area, and I just have to constantly adjust until I get it just right with everything.
Yeah. I have that with like these headphones, where like these are comfortable, but if I wear them, all day or something, it like when we did Game of the Year podcast and the other one back to back, like by the end of it, even in the most opportune, whatever, like taking them off resting, I'm still like sore around the area because the plastic starts to bleed through the cushion.
Yeah, and like I start to feel around an hour or so.
Yeah.
I did order from like a third party like a new cushion for it, so waiting to see how that would be like. So I've heard good things about it. But that's like the only downfall I have from that is like it's just that and my lack of space, I guess. But that's so adaptable that it's not even, it's not the index's fault. The only bad thing about it is the price tag.
Yeah, right. Was setup pretty easy overall? Quick?
The setup itself is pretty good. Like they walk you through it really well. The directions that come with the index aren't that descriptive. And trying to download Steam VR was apparently a problem. Going through the Steam app itself, it was saying that I couldn't download it because it wasn't available in my language. Still don't know what that meant, but I had to go through a web browser to download it. And it worked that way, so maybe I did something wrong. I don't know what happened there.
Yeah, it's weird.
But after that little hiccup, it was smooth sailing after that. And it's cool that like it monitors every device separately. The base stations, the headset, each index controller. It'll have it'll keep a little monitor of that. There's a little bar that pops up to show you how much how much of your GPU you're using up or whatever. And it'll let you know if you need to update each thing's software separately and whatnot. And it keeps a pretty good track of everything.
And you've been playing some Phasmophobia in that virtual reality now.
Oh my god, yeah. I was curious about this, and setting that up was a little bit. I mean, because of Phasmophobia, just the way that game is, I was expecting some jank, but I know that there was more support for VR as it was going on, so there were a lot of settings that I had to like kind of relearn, because the way they tell you what things are, I didn't know what they were. I had to like look it up or whatever and just keep toying with it until I got it right. Like you can adjust the angle of your character's floating hands, and I don't know why, but that's cool, I guess. But like I messed it up once because trying to navigate with the remote, I'm like scrolling through everything, but I like adjusted a slider and my hands were all like deformed. I'm like, oh, how do I fix this? What do I do? And finally fixed it. But playing a game, it's so wacky. Like I feel more vulnerable. It's because like the way, so like usually your movement, is WASD controls and shift to like walk a little bit faster. For VR, the way your left hand is positioned determines your speed. So like I kind of have to keep it like a little forward than usual. I have to stick my hand out a little bit to like walk at the fastest pace, because if I have it down by my side, I walk too slow. So like I had to get used to that while like trying to look around. I mean, grabbing things is cool. You have like a weird like hula hoop belt like kind of hovering in front of you, and you can have two items there clipped on the sides like magnets, and then you could still have two free hands to hold whatever. But then you realize you need to keep a hand free because you got to open doors.
Yeah.
Unless you're playing with somebody that will open all the doors for you.
And can you play with people who are not in VR?
Yes. Yeah. Usually you have to push to talk to everybody, like whether it's local or through the radio. But with that headset, it keeps the local chat on at all times, so I don't have to push a button for that. And if I want to talk with the radio, I have to put my hand up to my left ear and hit the trigger to talk to anybody. And then you have a journal to keep the clues to determine which ghost you're dealing with. That's when I have to grab on my right side around my shoulder area, and it'll whip out the journal, and I have to, do it that way. But yeah, moving around is cool with my hands. Being able to throw shit whenever, move anything at any angle is cool. So I have that freedom and advantage over keyboard mouse players. But when it comes to a hunt is when I start to fail. Because, like, I panic. I'm trying to, like, run around a corner. But, like, the item I'm holding, like, my hand might clip through the corner of, like, a hallway. But the item doesn't go with me. It just drops on the ground. But I'm not going to go back to pick it up because I'm going to die. And then I have to run to a door. I have to, like, try to, like, get up close and push the door open. And that's a disadvantage because keyboard players can open a door from, like, 2 miles away. So I'm, like, trying to open it, run through, try to shut it so it doesn't open it, and then try to, like, hide in the closet. And, like, more times than not, I've failed, so I just got to get better at it. But, yeah, still keeps me on my toes.
You kind of started to allude to this a little bit, and this goes past Phasmophobia, because I'm sure you've played other things besides, Alex and this, but, like, what is it? How is it going from, like, game to game to game with the VR? Like, how cumbersome is it to get the settings right? It seems like in Phasmophobia is not that bad. Like, let's just say Alex is, like, the pinnacle of VR. How is it going across? Because, like, when you play with a controller or keyboard, yeah, there are many keyboard combinations and things like that. But, like, it's button inputs at the end of the day, and it's just a matter of where you map them. How is it, like, with this, with all the twisting and the sensitivities and things like that?
A lot of games, if they're, like, I feel like if they're optional VR games, they kind of have their own mapping to them already, and then you just kind of have to figure out what they are. And some of the games, they don't let you customize them. It just depends on the title. But for the most part, it seems pretty, like, self-explanatory. There's not too much you have to adjust whenever jumping into a game. It's like, at most, maybe the way you move around and the way you look, like if you use the right stick to kind of do, like, 15 degree or 45 degree angle turns for your character, unless you want to do, like, a more locomotive version where, like, if you turn your head, that determines how your character, moves around. It feels like a lot of games have those options as a standard at this point. I try to avoid ones that are teleport, like, only, because that's just not my thing. I don't like I rather just move around with the left stick. And so a lot of games, like, Alex has all those options, but I like walking around, unless, when it comes to jumping or something, it might give you an option to, like, teleport that way. But in Phasmo, it's still a left stick to, to move forward, backward, left, right, and, I just, look around with my head, whatever. In any other game, it's mostly been like that. I think there's only, like, one or two other games where it was teleport only, but they weren't really, like, games. They were just, like, weird experiences or whatever you want to call them. But yeah, for the most part, the controls are usually fairly simple. Nothing seems to be mistranslated when it goes from, like, a mouse keyboard to controller state. Like it doesn't feel really dumb where it's like, oh, hey, and E might be your interactive button to, like, grab an item or something. For VR, you have to, like, I don't know, hit, like, 3 buttons at once while holding a trigger to, like, do the same thing. It's never been anything like that, at least, so that's good. And I'm thinking it's mostly because most of the support for VR might be for something with more simple controllers, like a Oculus or Vive or something.
And you mentioned your well, you didn't mention your specs, but you mentioned you can see, like, all your different CPU statistics and things like that. How rough is it on your machine? Like, are you, like, still getting good frames and stuff like that? Because you have a fairly, do you have a 2080 inside?
I have a 2080 Super.
Yeah. Okay.
So for Alex, I do have to wait a bit for things to, like, fully load. I was running on, like, all ultra settings at first, but I moved everything down to high just so I could have a little better performance. There's not much difference with the details that I've noticed, to be honest, between those two. But yeah, like if I died or something, or if I'm loading between maps, there's a little bit of wait time, and then when I'm standing there, just looking around, I have to see, like, I see a gray screen get filled in with the actual scenery, because it's only registering my field of view. So it might take like maybe like probably less than a minute, I think, to like make sure that fully everything is good to go and you don't have to worry about like any weird visual hiccups and get any kind of motion sickness or whatever from looking around. Because sometimes when things are loading, like what you're looking at isn't, you know, the right angle. You're still seeing, like if you were looking straight ahead and then you looked to the right, you're still seeing what was in front of you on your right, and that could be disorienting to your eyes and until like it adjusts. And that doesn't happen often, but it's only with those loading bits. Aside from that, smooth sailing.
And then one last thing, I know like motion sickness and stuff is a thing, like with different frame rates. So I'm assuming some games perform better than others, just knowing how PC gaming works. Like, is there? Can you tell like a big like you can tell a difference between like 30 frames and 120 frames? Or do you feel that more in VR, or have you not really? Have you been pretty much at the same frame rate with whatever you've been playing?
Frame rate with what I've been playing so far has been mostly the same. I mean, yeah, my biggest ones are Alex and Phasmo at the moment, just because I'm waiting for its sale to play other VR games. But yeah, like for the most part, it's you know, because based on my head movement, I haven't gotten any like no dips or like a screen freezing just from turning my head too quickly or something like that. Like a game hasn't crashed because of that, at least. But yeah, for the most part, it's been pretty much the same.
And then one last question. This is about the ban. I forgot to ask earlier. Is it glasses friendly?
From what I've seen in videos for people, like, I say yes. I haven't seen many complaints about it. I know people with the Oculus have had complaints with the Quest 2 where, like, yeah, it is glasses friendly, but there's still, like, a weird issue with it, apparently. To where, like, it really presses in on your face a little bit more than it should. But from what I'm hearing about,
that with the PlayStation 1, if I remember correctly.
Yeah, especially if it was the first model of that.
Well, whatever one you have, I think.
Yeah, I have like the original one. The newer one is a little more better designed ergonomically. But from what I've seen about this Quest, I mean not Quest, the Index. Yeah, it's definitely glasses friendly.
That's all I have.
Moving from hunting ghosts to hunting people. Matt, Hitman 3's out this week.
It is.
And it looks like from a screenshot you sent us, you have found the hammer.
That was they tell you what the mission objective is, right? Like they give you suggestions on how to do whatever. And I looked at Victoria and said, no. First objective, got to find a secret weapon. Yeah. And then, you know, my head hum, like we did in our video, dun, 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 and then quickly realized they're making a 007 game. And
oh, yeah.
Yeah, so here's the good news. Here, I really don't have any notes here. I usually have some notes when I'm talking about a new game to keep me focused. But here's the good news, guys. It is pretty much exactly like Hitman 1 and 2.
From what I've seen, yeah, that's... But that's good. Like,
I think that's my point, though. I'm not like down about it. It is more Hitman. It is new locations, new targets, new wacky scenarios. There is a way to bring your progression over from the other games. I did not do that because the servers were on fire, evidently, when I went to do it, and I didn't care that much. And I don't know if I even have an IO account because I always hit skip whenever that popped up in the main menu. And I also don't know how my progress would go from 1 and 2 because of the way me and Joe kind of shared that game, because that was one of the games we did kind of like do that PlayStation sharing thing. So I don't know how that would have went. So I just started fresh. So I don't know how that looks. But like just like Hitman 2, though, all the Hitman 1 levels are there, and it's just kind of like, gain access to this content, that kind of stuff. But that's like everything, like the sniper assassin missions, all the DLC for the previous 2 games, they're all there. It's just a matter of getting access, and if you click on it, it kind of gives you like the how-to almost. And of course, it pops up a thing for the store or whatever. But yeah, like this, it is what it is. Like, I really don't have too much to say besides, if you played the first two, you kind of know what you're getting yourself into. This seems like kind of just a little bit shorter than I think 2 was. I think this has maybe in total 6 or 7 levels, which, if you're just going through and doing one assassination and then, going to the next level, yeah, you might be able to beat it in a couple hours. But, that's not the meat of this game. The meat of this game is like doing it and then, there was story missions I could have done. There's usually 3 of them in every level. So like, how does this progress the story? And then, like, you do the fun things. Like, I always like the escalation protocols because they get really weird because they make you do it with specific weapons or in specific costumes, and it makes you really, like, explore the level. So, like, I haven't done any of those. Haven't done any of those yet in this game. I'm, like, kind of going through the main story, and I'll probably backtrack through and do some more of that stuff. But, like, I'm just taking my time because I kind of can already see the length of this, and it's going to kind of last for as long as I want it to. I just don't want to burn myself out because, these games are a ton of fun. Like I was saying to Joe earlier, the second level, it takes place in a manor, and on top of other stuff that's going on with the target, someone died in the house, and everyone in the house is a suspect. And it just so happens at the same time as 47's arriving at the manor, there's a private investigator showing up. You can become him, and then just solve the murder yourself and figure out who did it. And essentially, you would have to take out the target at the end of the day, but you can just play out the fantasy of a private investigator and figure out who killed this man between the family members. It's kind of like a Knives Out situation in a way. It's kind of funny, but like Hitman 3 is always very good about those scenarios, but at the same time, like, those scenarios are just suggestions, and I think that's one of the strengths of this game. It is literally, you have an objective, the game is nice and gives you suggestions or gives you cool paths to do it, but essentially, like, they're just suggestions. The level is your sandbox for you to play in and to eliminate your target. You just kind of do it however, and there's all kinds of weird, funky ways. Besides just the story missions, it still has all those different weird little challenges where you look and you're like, oh, I can do that. And then, like, you figure out how to kind of connect the dots for all those things. The one thing I kind of will say, I mean, I've only played through 2 levels, so this could change. Like, for this kind of being the third one, I don't have a massive level yet. Like, the manor was big, but, like, it wasn't like Miami big, or like even the manor wasn't as big as that huge party mansion in the first level of Hitman 1. I forget the name of that location where, like, that ball is happening and there's, like, the multi-level floors and all this stuff. Dubai's a little bit bigger. Dubai reminds me a little bit more of that, but, like, I'm thinking of some of those massive ones. Like, is Sapienza the one where it's like there's, like, the castle, but there's also, like, the villa area that you can go into that, like, we didn't even go into for a couple episodes until we were looking for, like, the stoner outfit or whatever. Like, I haven't seen anything like that, but yeah, that could be endgame stuff or, in another level, and it's just I haven't gotten there yet. I don't think it's a bad thing. Sometimes I like the more contained areas because you can really plot out more things. You don't have to play through so many times to kind of get the lay of the land. You can kind of gather it all at the same time. The one thing though, like, I know this was like a PS5 game, like, it doesn't look like a PS5 game, if you understand. Like, it looks fine, but, like, it looks like it would run just fine on a PS4 still. So, that is what it is. One of my complaints about Hitman 2 was the cutscenes. They weren't really cutscenes. They were, like, kind of like images that popped up with some dialogue, and they're, like, kind of moving pictures in a way. They have cutscenes in this game, but they don't look good. And I don't know if it's because of me. It looks like I know they're pre-rendered. I don't know if they were pre-rendered at 1080 and they look bad on my upscale to 4K, because the in-game looks fine. Like, it looks really good for what it is. Like I said, it doesn't look anything spectacular, but it looks fine. But these cutscenes don't look that great, and I think it's because of the pre-rendering and maybe potentially some of the upscaling. Because of that, I hope they get that together, because, Hitman, like, there is a story here. I don't care much about it. There is, like, a previously inside the game. You probably would get a little bit more detail from someone on YouTube telling you about it, which is what I did before I played it. But, yeah, there's a story here, but, the game itself is the fun part of this. For a 007 game, they're going to need to get that narrative part right because, James Bond movies, like that's a big part of it. And they're going to need to nail a cutscene in that James Bond game. So seeing this, I know like it is what it is. I'm not too worried about it for this game, but like there's an area of opportunity looking ahead for a 007 game. I think that's it for me. But besides that, it's mostly the same. I don't think there's anything wrong with that. I don't know they could get away with it a fourth time, but it sounds like this is the end of their trilogy without maybe some kind of major reboot or just walking away from the franchise for a good bit. But yeah, it's Hitman.
Do they have
more
a
of a good
publisher
time.
for that 007 game? Like, I would assume Warner Brothers, right?
It would have to be, right? MGM has the film rights, right?
I think WB does now.
Does this Hitman do anything with the DualSense?
Yeah, so the only thing I've experienced, and I kind of like it, it almost makes it like every shot counts. Just in general, everything it puts a little bit of pressure on your targeting and a little bit of pressure on your, so you just can't mash R2 to shoot repeatedly. Like it feels like you're kind of pulling the trigger each time. So
like adaptive triggers.
Yeah, like I haven't gotten into one of my patented firefights yet because I've been kind of methodical. But like I already know just from pulling the trigger a couple times, or just from like throwing my hammer or a baseball, and so I found a baseball in a manor and I threw it at someone and took their costume, so that was fun. But like just from throwing those items, I don't feel as confident in a firefight as I once was. It's a weird thing, but it's just because my rate of fire would not be as unrealistic, I guess. So yeah, that's the only thing I've noticed. I don't know if there is anything else. I didn't. There's an option to turn it on or off in the game, but it doesn't tell you what it does specifically. So I don't know. I did not look it up before I hopped on air here, but yeah, that was the only thing I've noticed. But look, it's a little touch, but it makes me think twice about going into one of my firefights where things just go wrong and I leave the area being shot at by 30 goons.
Hey, Colorado's always welcome.
I have not tested how many bodies I can put in one room before the game rate slows down, or the frame rate slows down like 5 frames a second with bodies just jumping all around because it doesn't know what to do.
That's how you know the power of the PS5. You got to test that.
Well, here's the thing. Maybe I should have brought over that data from Hitman 2 because I probably would have gotten maybe potentially the Colorado level back, and I could have just repeated it and seen the power. Damn. I might have to look into that for next episode.
You were right about 007. That is MGM, but apparently they're looking to sell, and Warner Brothers is looking to buy. So in a way, we're both right.
Perfect.
Yeah, I liked they left that Hitman 2 on a stinger that I was curious to see how it would come back around. But yeah, I don't know.
Oh, there is, I don't remember this being in Hitman. This was a new feature. There is a camera, and there's like things to scan in the environment. And early on in Dubai, it led to you opening up things like a gadget, like you relayed the information to someone and they would open the door for you. It didn't do that too much in the manner. You were more just scanning for like evidence to like kind of get another like intel checkbox almost. And it kind of proved useful for that investigation thing. It was a way to kind of progress that along. Like I said, I haven't played any other levels besides those two, but you carry your camera. It's not like a do you want to carry it with you kind of thing. It's always with you by default. So I wonder how that kind of keeps going as the levels progress. But I did notice that was something new that I don't remember that being in 2 or 1. As a mechanic, at least.
Yeah, I don't remember that either. It's very Metroid Prime.
It's literally like that, too, like scanning.
Yeah.
And
That's got VR also, right? Hitman 3? I thought that was a thing. Or is that I feel like it's a PlayStation-only VR mode, isn't it?
I want to say it was. I don't remember all the details of that. As I don't have a VR headset, I can't tell you if it is or not. I don't see it in the main menu, like it being like VR right there. But also, the menus haven't changed from 2 or 1, and those menus are very not great. So it could be very much hidden somewhere that I have not looked or not realized is a thing.
It is at least a minimum of 1 year exclusive PlayStation VR for the Hitman stuff. I don't know. We'll see.
Yeah, but, like I said, it's all there. The escalation protocols, the story missions, the contracts that other people make, you can go browse. Like, everything is there that you know from these games, with just a couple other mechanics and some new worlds.
Cool.
Dope.
Well, Square Enix does not publish Hitman anymore, but they do publish the Final Fantasy games. And since we last had an episode, Square Enix news has come out that company has trademarked Ever Crisis, The First Soldier, and the Shinra Electric Power Company logo. So a lot of this ties into Sephiroth and Crisis Core and all of the kind of periphery Final Fantasy VII things. Do you think that 2 is going to be more of a departure from the original 7 than maybe previously assumed?
I don't think it's going to be a major departure. I mean, I think that thread, I'll just leave it at like what 7 leaves you on is going to be a thing throughout with the fates. But
yeah.
I think they just trademarked their names for Part 2 and Part 3. Because I don't think they want to call this Final Fantasy VII Remake Part 2. Because they really didn't call Part 1 Part 1. They just said Final Fantasy VII Remake.
Yeah. And I remember we talked about that at some point. Like, when are they going to,
I could easily see, I could see this being either way. I think it would make more sense for the First Soldier to be the next part and then Ever Crisis to be the last part. But I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Obviously we just gave that our game of the year, but I still have been thinking about going back to that one and playing it a little bit, but I want to see what they do with that thing. I'm more than ever curious what more Final Fantasy looks like.
What if these names were for spin-off mobile games?
Oh, yeah, or
whatever.
FF14 raids or something.
Whatever.
Yeah.
That would actually be kind of funny if they did that.
Square Enix also announced this week that a demo for Balan Wonderland comes out this week on January 28th across all platforms, PS4, 5, Xbox One. I'm so tired of this. All platforms. If you own a thing that plays games in 2021 that is still getting new games, you'll have a demo of Balan Wonderland featuring Acts 1 and 2 of Chapter 1, Act 1 of Chapter 4, and Act 1 of Chapter 6, as well as access to the Isle of Tims, the hub area where you can also raise mysterious creatures called Tims. The demo also supports 2-person local multiplayer. The Tims part sounds a lot like a Chow Garden to me. Is this Sonic Adventure 3 that we never got? Mark, wake up. You look sad.
I don't know about that. This still reeks of Nights. So
it does feel a lot like Nights, yeah.
I don't know.
I'm ever curious, man. I love me some Yuji Naka.
Yeah.
I want to see what he's been up to since leaving Sega. We'll see.
I don't know. When they announced that, was there new footage at all or new gameplay?
This demo? I don't know. I read the press release. I don't know if they put in a trailer out or anything.
'Cause I thought I would have saw something, but
yeah, I think it was just a press release and a screenshot. Not even a screenshot, but just some promo art that says demo.
Yeah.
On the thing.
I guess I'll try the demo because I need to see more of it.
Yeah, me too.
I'm gonna wait. We'll see what you all say. We'll see what the pulse is for our game of the year. Maybe that's what.
Speaking of departures, Takuya Imamura has left Nintendo after 32 years. He posted to Facebook and Twitter, "Today is my last day coming to work. I took a selfie with the empty office building. It feels pretty sad to think about not coming here anymore. Hats off to myself for 32 years of hard work." Imamura has worked on a lot at Nintendo, a graphic designer for the original F-Zero and Star Fox games, including character designs for Captain Falcon and Fox McCloud. He was art director on Star Fox 64, chief designer on F-Zero X, art director on Majora's Mask, including the creation of Tingle, producer on Star Fox Assault, Star Fox Command, director of Steel Diver and Tank Troopers, and supervisor for a number of other F-Zero and Star Fox games, although not many other F-Zero games because Nintendo stopped making them. Actually, not many other Star Fox games because he did not say, I mean, I assume this is a retirement. Do you feel like he will move on somewhere else, Yuji Naka style, and go make his own bar box 64? Or is this just 32 years and out?
I feel like he's probably out. If anything, if he were to come back, maybe somebody would want to collaborate with him, like bring him one for like one of their projects, and he's just like dipping a hand into it.
Yeah, consulting is probably where.
Yeah, like hey, like can you design a character for us or something? Or
yeah, I just watched those Archipel series. They had one with, I gotta look up the fella's name, but he was the previous art director for Final Fantasy, and he's since leaving Square. Isamu Kamiko Koryo. Who's the art director of Final Fantasy, but since leaving there, he's been like a consultant or has done like freelance work for other companies to do, things. So I can see something like that maybe happening.
It's bittersweet.
Yeah, reading that story reminded me that like we're gonna start seeing more of this soon. Like,
yeah, getting used to the idea of like new hands taking on old projects that you haven't tied to these original people, and that feels like the way, but you have to pass it on.
Yeah, like I wonder how long it is before Miyamoto retires.
That was kind of my thought when I saw this. I was like, huh. Yeah, like when's Miyamoto?
Yeah, Miyamoto and Tezuka, like a lot of them have been there for a very, well over.
Aonuma.
I think actually what? Well, yeah, this is 40 years since Donkey Kong, and dude's still working. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know. I read that there was an interview with Miyamoto and New Yorker at the end of the year last year, and just hearing him kind of look back over his career and Mario over the last 35 years and everything, it's like, man, he's had a life.
Yeah.
I don't know. I do know we're going to take a break, and when we come back, we're going to kick off the first of a recurring weekly segment, and we got a couple more games and news articles to talk about. We'll be right back. Welcome back to the Free Cheese, episode 385. It's time for the debut of a brand new, hot new segment, Choose Their Fighter. Every week, until we're tired of it, we have a new fighting games character roster, and you two are going to play a little version of the game, the Newlywed Game, in a way. We're going to see how well you know each other, and also kind of, we'll probably learn a lot about what you think of yourselves and one another. So each week, I'm going to present you with a fighting games character select screen. You're going to privately message me who you would choose in this fighting game, and who you think the other person would choose in this fighting game. I will record the what you send. I will spend the next week doing research to figure out exactly what that means about what you think of yourselves and the other person. And next week we'll come back and we'll reveal the results for everyone. This might change over time. I like the idea of having something to come back to connect each episode, but maybe this is also a thing in the future where we maybe at the top of the show have you guys pick, and then the end of the show we close. I don't know. But this week, our game, as chosen by Matt throwing me a random number between 1 and 30 or something, is Soul Edge, or Soul Blade, or the predecessor to Soul Calibur.
I've never played
There are
this.
so many different versions of this, but the clearest, cleanest version of the character select screen that I could get brings us these 10 characters. Huang, Rock, Taki, Sophatia, Mitsurugi, Siegfried, Song Mina, Lilong, Voldo, and Cervantes.
Sophia.
So, say it again.
Sophia.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, see? This is why, yeah.
Just for Akko's sake. Right?
Thank you. I appreciate that. I know Akko's screaming. Yeah, so shoot me messages. Let me know who you would pick and who you think the other would pick. I will record them. And next week we'll return and we'll see what you guys thought. If you need time to do it after the show or whatever, take your time.
Man, it's so... Yeah, it's only a little challenging because I'm not, like... I'm familiar with the series, but I've never played this one specifically.
I have no idea what this game is, so I'm excited for my submissions.
Yeah, I was thinking that it would be we will eventually get to some games with more familiar character rosters, but I kind of wanted to pull from the thretches of fighting games and get some things that you guys I knew would not already know. Like, if I put Smash Brothers down, it's kind of, you know what I mean? Like, that would have been an easy one for you guys, but I feel like this is, yeah.
Okay.
Plus, I like fighting games, and I like talking about fighting games, and this lets us do exactly that. Speaking of fighting games, Mark, you jumped into ARMS this week here in our year 2021.
It's not a VR game.
No, it's not. I've actually played something not VR for once. The what if? No.
So this is Mark that played it. I just thought Joe jumped back into this and it was fun an excuse to talk about this game again.
Dude, I've been weird with my Switch. I pulled triggers on some things, and ARMS was one of them.
All right.
I didn't play like a butt ton of it, but I did go through enough of it just to get my bearings and everything. I went through the Grand Prix once. I guess it's on the. Is it difficulty based with those numbers? Is that what that means?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay, so I did the easiest, I guess, which is do the rounds stay the same too? Is it always 10 rounds?
I think it is,
or 10 stages, whatever.
It may, that basketball game might change. That might be a random, whether or not it's basketball or volleyball.
I had volleyball.
Yeah, I think maybe that's random, but I don't think that's not difficulty based or anything.
Yeah. I mean, taking my time with it, I'm enjoying it. I think I only played the demo before, or whatever we played at your house, Joe, for a little bit.
Yeah.
I didn't do wireless Joy-Cons or whatever. I was
going to ask, what's your play style?
My play style will probably be Pro Controller, but hooked up to a TV. But I just didn't do that this time. I might do the Joy-Cons separate, the wireless, whatever. Just
Spread Eagle is what we call it.
Spread Eagle, yes.
Yeah.
Pardon me.
Yeah. No, I honestly, when I returned to ARMS last year for a while, I found it so much more natural to play. You know what I mean? Like, kind of like coming at it fresh, I was able to do it. When it first came out and I was like, no, I want to do buttons. trying to jump between the two was difficult, but coming fresh to it and doing Joy-Con, it was a lot easier. And fun, super fun.
Yeah, I think it was just the movement that threw me off originally. I remember when we played it at that event in DC.
Oh my god, yeah.
And they had to keep like remapping the controllers, or they had to keep resetting it because it kept like messing up or something.
I remember being mad at them that we couldn't just use buttons, but they were obviously like very much wanting to promote the Joy-Con. But yeah, it was.
Were they like being hush hush about it? Were they like, I don't know if you can use the buttons. I think this is the only way to play it.
I think it was I think it was just like, this demo set up for this, or like they were just kind of like, here's what it is.
But yeah, I like it. At least as far as playing against computers go, I'm having an okay time with that. Man, you really got to grind for that money, don't you?
Yeah, they do not give that out easily for all the little stickers and stuff.
Yeah, to buy the artwork and whatnot.
Yeah, they don't give that out. But I found, when the game was a bit more active and they were doing kind of their version of a Splatfest, I was jumping into those occasionally and having some fun. But I've played online a little bit here and there, and online's fun. I had a really good online match with a Kid Cobra at some point that was just like, I got destroyed, but I like was able to hold my own a little bit for one of the rounds and just felt super good like when you finally get into that flow of it. Mm-hmm. I really, really do hope they make another one of those. I think that, like, because that's the Mario Kart team, and you can kind of see the DNA there a little bit. And I think Mario Kart 8 Deluxe is probably in a good enough spot to float them for, another little while that they could do a proper ARMS sequel.
Like, everything around this and, like, starting to see that world a little more, it kind of gives me a new appreciation for where Nintendo is now, and I kind of like their approach to competitive gaming, even though I'm not really a competitive player. I know their games have some weird bumps, whatnot. I know like Splatoon has some things that surely could be fixed and whatever.
Yeah, friends list.
But like as a whole, just ideally, I like their style. I like I like the way that they're like non-traditional with their games. Like, yeah, it's a fighting game, but it's not like any other game out there, really. It's like evolved Punch-Out, I guess. And then, like, Splatoon isn't exactly about shooting each other. I mean, it is, but at the same time, like it's not. It's all based around the ink and the pain and and like Mario Kart's Mario Kart, but and Smash is now Smash. But at the time, that was something kind of new.
Yeah, it was a different approach to it. Splatoon is so good that I stopped playing Super Mario Sunshine this week. And by stopped, I mean I started Super Mario Sunshine, and while running around, I was like, I just want to go play Splatoon. I don't like this game. Why did I spend $60 on this collection?
Splatoon, I do want to, like, I never played through the campaigns, so I want to, I mean, like, I never got far. I think I got through, like, the first world, and
that DLC campaign is some of the best, like...
Yeah. But, like, that's stuff, like, I want to jump through, but, like, they all have, like, similar design, like... The way they have, like, just, like, logos just slapped everywhere, and everything feels very, like, I don't know how to describe it at this point. Like, it feels like Mario Kart, obviously, because, Mario Kart aren't the same people, but, like, them two and Splatoon all feel like they're all part of, like, the same, like, channel on TV.
Yeah, that's a really, yes, there's, like, a brand that is very much alive there that you don't see.
Yeah. Like, that side of Nintendo, I like, and I want to see them kind of explore that a little more. Now, if they do another F-Zero, I don't know if I actually want that to be mimicking this style. Yeah. But to some degree, I think that's a good point. A good point
I think, like, we talked about before the break with the retirement at Nintendo and, like, just kind of the changing of the guard. I think the fact that we're seeing, like, ARMS and Splatoon were the first examples of, like, that new generation of Nintendo finally being given the opportunity to create. And that was something that came up in that Miyamoto interview as well. It's like, it's also about Miyamoto becoming comfortable with letting a new generation create and not just, you know what I mean? Like they're running this stuff now instead of just kind of, being art or being programmers or whatever. They're actually like directors and things. So,
Mechanica's still my favorite ARMS fighter. And after because their loadouts, I like you can purchase more arms, right?
You get the money to do the mini game.
Okay, are they still tailored to each fighter, or is it like you can use all those with anyone?
Eventually, so there's a big grid, and it shows every arm type and every character. Every character has 3 main arm types, and across all of the characters and all of the arm types, you eventually unlock all of every character's arm types for every character.
Okay.
So, like, Twintel, I think, has, like, the umbrella that's, like, ice or something like that, or I don't remember. But, like, you'll unlock that from Mechanica. You'll unlock the same things that Ribbon Girl has for Mechanica, and you can slowly swap them out. And I found that what I liked is, like, I maybe liked some of the, like, movement stuff that a certain character had, but I liked the arms of another one. So as I unlocked them, I could mix and match and do what I wanted to do there.
Yeah. I had to look up how to change colors because I forgot that was like a weird way
that weird
to
hidden
do it.
Button combo.
Like clicking the left stick in a direction and then whatever.
Such a weird, yeah.
But yeah, I like Mechanica's like standard like loadout with like the 3 little like stringed bullets with each arm. And it's just like punching somebody 6 times instead of twice. Covers a lot of ground.
You should try online. Online's pretty fun.
I did. It just came in the mail yesterday. I got my LAN adapter for my Switch.
Oh, I should get one.
From what I'm seeing, people are not recommending the Hori one.
Oh, what did you get? The Wii U one?
No, they're called U-Green, but it's like half the price. But apparently, it's USB 3.0.
Oh, nice.
And I think the Hori one is 2.0.
Yeah.
So, I'll try it out and see how it goes. But
yeah, let me know.
Before we move on, the last time we talked about ARMS on air, we found ourselves quite the wiki. Maybe it's the traditional wiki, but there was a fun statistic about all the fighters. If I remember, there's a fun statistic, and Mechanica, I just want to say, Mark, has a 4 out of 5 with arm girth.
See, that's weird to me, though, because Mechanica's not genetically altered. Mechanica's in a suit, so Mechanica's arms are not necessarily 4 out of 5 arm girth, right? It's the mechanical arms.
Yes, this is indeed the mechanical arms. I can read her backstory.
Does play
here.
a part?
Oh yeah, girth is part of their measurements that are listed on the wiki.
But like, is that like a game factor?
Yes, apparently.
4 out of 5.
Or it just goes into,
Car sells like Garth Brooks over here.
Head on over to armsfanfiction.girth. Nacon, not to be confused with Bacon, Nacon will publish Creature Studios' developed skateboarding simulation game Session. Both companies have announced. Session available for early access on PC via Steam and in-game preview for Xbox One via the Microsoft Store. Creature Studios said in a news post, the deal obviously means many positive things for us, the community, and the studio as a whole, and beyond what we could ever hope for. Better licensing and branding integration, more localization options, more platforms, and so on. As you can imagine, the team will grow and has already started to grow, which adds to a greater and faster development pace, grander objectives, but more importantly, allowing us to fulfill the vision we always dreamt of for Session. The early access update 0.0.6 is planned for release right around the corner this month. We should hopefully see that. This point zero, whatever it is, 0006 is the one where they finally they did an entire physics engine overhaul over the last while. So there really hasn't been an update for the game in quite a while, but there's good reason behind it. I'm personally pretty excited about this. I thought it was cool that they were able to break out on their own and get Creature up and running to put this together and make, the skateboarding game that they wanted to make and couldn't make while still at EA. And my feelings towards Session. Like, Session to me was the catalyst for getting back into skateboarding because it truly felt like what it felt like to go get lost in skating. And I've loved this game since it came out, and it's still like not where I'd want it to be and where I know it will hopefully get to, you know what I mean? But like, I still love playing it whenever I do. And hearing that they're already like the last patch they did, they put in different boards and different things like that. Like I started seeing stuff show up from Zero and I was like, oh, okay. Yeah. There's like recognizable stuff in here. So I think that'll be really neat getting more things in there. Like, that game Skater XL kind of stole a lot of thunder because they were first to... Skater XL, I think, copped the Session control scheme and then changed it a little bit or whatever, and then beat them to market for 1.0. But I don't think there's a lot of depth there. I haven't played it, but just like looking at it, it just like, I don't know. It's me, and it's... I don't know. I have a dumb thing in my brain.
Isn't Skater XL like more like super hot looking?
That's what they did was when they grafted the Session control scheme to it, they added a like red and blue overlay to your feet, and you're like, it looks more, I don't know.
Like, I thought your whole dude was just like a low poly, like one color.
No, it's an actual dude.
What? Am I thinking of something different?
I forget which one you're talking about. Thinking of Skatebird?
That's exactly the one.
Yeah.
I think the main thing Session, I mean, like, Skater XL came out, but it kind of came and went. I think, if anything, it showed there's a market for a skateboarding game like this. I think there's got to beat Session or Skate 4, whatever. Did they say Skate 4 or just another skate game?
They just said another Skate is coming. They didn't...
So, I think it just needs to beat that 1.0 by not just like 2 or 3 months, by like 6 months, and they're fine. Also, as long as they beat Skate 4 to the punch, I think people are going to buy Skate 4 because, it's Skate 4, but I think there is still a cloud of mystery because it's EA and how that game is going to be and loot boxes and things like that. So,
well, if you remember though, right before that Skate 4 or whatever announcement or confirmation, the thing was like very much the same dude who was saying they're gonna remake Tony Hawk was also on podcast saying EA called me to do a port of Skate 3 to phones.
Yeah,
like that was common knowledge, and then it seemed like internally EA flipped the script because of how widely the
backlash was,
and how poor the reception of that news was. So I think they're pretty early on in whatever a new skate game
I think
is.
so too, yeah.
And a lot of the skate people left to go make Session. So I think they initially wanted Session to only be in early access between 6 to 12 months, and it had launched in September 2019. So obviously, I mean, they were already working remotely, so I can't say that they were largely affected. Who knows? But overhauling the entire physics engine, that was not something I think was planned early on, and I think that coming up is going to make the game better. They already showed like how they've shown little gameplay things that show how that game looks different pre and post patch. So I don't know. The fact that they're here, I think they can get to 1.0 quickly enough, and I'm sure that with a publisher behind them, they're also going to start seeing a lot of there's going to be a lot of trailers for that 1.0 that it's like from the people who made Skate. You know what I mean? Like a publisher will push those types of things now. So
Has there been a skateboard game where you can upload your own image for your deck?
They had talked about that when the Kinect first was announced. That was the big thing, is like, don't worry about just scan your own skateboard and you can be a skateboarder. But
I mean, now I just want like hey, upload JPEG.
Yeah, the best you could do was I forget which Tony Hawk. I think it was 3 did it. Or maybe no, it probably wasn't until they did Underground. But you could, in there, they had like a really crude, like layered editor. You know what I mean? Where they had like stock shapes and stock symbols, and you could kind of drag them on there.
Kind of like Rock Band.
Yeah, yeah. Well, same kind of background.
Yeah.
I mean, that technology's there. I mean, like 2K, Jack Tretton didn't just appear on a belt because he was in the game. Like this is very easy to do nowadays.
But I think also a big part of the Tony Hawk's stuff, well, any of the skateboarding stuff, is getting those brands in there and getting that licensed stuff in there. The Tony Hawk 1 and 2 remakes they have, if you're wearing like a plain whatever, you can graft a logo onto it and change the color of like a plain shirt or a plain hoodie. I thought they were going to extend that to deck customization, but it seems like it's isolated just to that. Which I've been playing some Tony Hawk 1 and 2 this week. After we wrapped Game of the Year and it kind of landed where it landed, and we talked about just kind of how good that game was, but how I went through everything twice in a matter of like a week or whatever, or week, I don't know, whatever the heck. I burned through that game. But I was thinking about it a lot this week, and I needed like just something to jump into and whatever. I wanted like a pick up and play kind of thing, and I've been struggling to find anything to play at all. But I was like, it's comfort food. I've played it on and off, but not really since they added the option for solo tours. So what they did way back when is they made it so that when you cleared, you're getting each level's goals. It was just kind of like a career goal, like, or you as a player, you did it once, you're done. But now you can actually go back through, collect skate, break 5 boxes, do all that stuff for every single skater, including any additional custom characters you make. So I had 100%ed with a custom character and with one of the pro skaters. And now I'm going through with a different custom character and doing the solo tour and just bit by bit making my way through. It just feels so good still. Like that game, it's just such a really good game. I've been having a lot of fun just, like it's not anything more than it is. It's Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 1 and 2. Throughout the week, I was maybe holding on to a little hope that at some point in the next few months, we might see a little announcement from Activision that Tony Hawk 3 maybe would get patched in. We'd get some levels from 3, new music, new skaters, something like that. And then right before we wrapped up kind of the outline for the week, it was announced that Vicarious Visions will not, well, we don't know that they won't be, but the studio has been merged into Blizzard, quote, fully dedicated to existing Blizzard games. Which does not seem like Vicarious Visions, who were the talented folks behind the Crash stuff. They did not make Crash 4. Toys for Bob made Crash 4, correct? But what?
Yes, that is correct.
Yeah. But Vicarious did the remaster, and they did the remaster of Tony Hawk, which I was super hopeful that they would, maybe make their own Tony Hawk game, brand new. But I think what's nice about this most recent one from last year is that, like the originals, it, I think, can last a long time. I'm sure that this game's going to get ported to Switch, and I will buy it again. But I'm pretty sure it will. You can come back to this game in 5 years, 10 years, 15 years, just like the originals, and this will still probably hold up as a whole. It sucks there's maybe not any new content that'll still come to it. I think especially because after what we've seen Activision do with Call of Duty, I was like, all right, great. Let's make Tony Hawk the new that. You know what I mean? Like, let's get 3, and then we can slowly just have this kind of platform, the way that Warzone has become that bridging gap or whatever. Like, I'm seeing all of that stuff come together. Not unlike how, you were talking about Skate and EA and what does that look like in today's world. And like, I could fully see this coming to life. And then this news that Vicarious Visions has been swallowed by Blizzard is just like, yay.
This is where, sorry. This is where the modding community comes in and keeps everything living or whatever. Because if it wasn't for them, I wouldn't have jumped 30 levels by infinite grinding a square for like 2 minutes.
Yes, exactly that. So, according to Jason Schreier, Vicarious Visions has been working on the Diablo 2 remake, and Blizzard's, quote, classic team that was working on, I guess this is the team that put together Warcraft 3 Remastered or Reforged, has been quietly dismantled to focus on other things. So, there is that.
Rip.
Yeah, it sucks. It's a bummer. It's like it just makes me less excited about Diablo. like
Blizzard doesn't read. They're already not in a good light. So,
and I guess a good Diablo 2 remake could put them back in a good light. But like, I don't know that I care to play Diablo. I don't know. I did, but now I don't. I don't. Who knows?
Diablo 2 has like a cool like stop motion aesthetic to it that I like. And now it's
what they did with Tony Hawk. I'm sure they'll do something neat with it. But yeah. I don't know. Speaking of gothic horror video games, Matt, you got some platinum armor over there in that Dark Souls?
Not yet, but I'm building to. I got like the legs, the gauntlets, and the helmets. Like kind of trying to secure that last little piece. After kind of Game of the Year wrapped, just like you with Tony Hawk, I kind of went back to do some unfinished business in something that I was playing with over the year. And I think it's just this time of year, because the last couple years here now, around this time, I get in deep with one of these games. And last year, this time, it was Dark Souls. Like the end of Sekiro into Dark Souls. So, yeah, I was just kind of itching, and I didn't want to go back to Demon Souls because I just came off of that. So I want to go back, especially now with Demon Souls kind of like in the belt, they go back to Dark Souls and like actually see all the things I was like witnessing in Demon Souls, being like, oh, hey, that's something in Dark Souls and all that. Like, and it's weird going back to Dark Souls. I think Demon Souls is a better game than what I was given the credit for, because I forget how bad some of the levels are at the end of Dark Souls 1. Like Tomb of the Giants is just pitch black. It sucks. The Lost Izalith is just a rehash. Demon's Ruins is just a rehash of boss skin, or like the bosses just planet like one after one another. It's not original at all. And the Lost Izalith is a shitty area, and that boss there is a terribly designed boss. It's not even a boss; it's like a platformer, which in Dark Souls is terrible. So like, you know, there's like things. At least Demon Souls was more consistent. Like I enjoyed that playthrough. Like I remember like the end of Dark Souls be like Tomb of the Giants and New Londo Ruins and Lost Izalith. Like some of those areas just like woof. These are like not just tough, but like they're just like not creative as much as it was like when you were exploring the Undead Burg and the Undead Parish and all that stuff. So I don't know. Anyway, yes, I've gone back to do the platinum hunt. I got through the initial grinding thing that kind of slowed me down and ultimately made me put it away. It took me about an hour or two to get through it, but I finally got through it. Been carefully following a guide because you have to be very particular, especially with some things. There is a Covenant late game that if you talk to the wrong NPC person, which is kind of right in front of your face after a certain point, like you won't be able to get to. So you have to be careful to avoid that interaction. And because you have to kill one of the late game bosses to even have it as an unlockable thing. So it's like a crazy crazy sequence of events to make that work to get that trophy. But yeah, it seems like I'm completely done in my second run. I am just dotting some I's and crossing some T's on it, making sure I got all the weapons, making sure I can level up those weapons as much as I can be. So literally, I get the boss soul, I can go to the blacksmith I need to get to, which is right before Ornstein and Smo, and finish the platinum by getting the Knight's Honor trophy, which is all the weapons in the game. So yeah, I like it. I'm just cracking away at it.
Does it feel like work at this point? Like, for me, I was thinking yesterday about 13 Sentinels, and I was like, oh, I never finished that platinum. And then I thought about it, and I was like, I know what I have to do to get the platinum, and I don't want to do it because it's not that. I don't care. Are you like still having fun doing it?
I am. When I actually am forced to play the game, like progress through the game, I'm having fun going through it again. Like, as much as bad as Tomb of the Giants is to go through because of the darkness and there's giant skeletons and things like that, like, I kind of remembered the path of, oh yeah, I can just run by all these people. So I kind of did a lot of that. And then same thing in Lost Isles. Like, the area sucks, but you're not in there for that long. It's just that boss sucks, and you have to run through that entire area again because there's not a good shortcut to get there. So like it's like that run I remember, not necessarily like going through it for the first time. So it's like little things like that. Like, as much as I like put a bad thing on something, like, it wasn't that bad the first time around. But like playing through those areas again, like legitimately getting to the boss was fun again. It's just when you get to the part where like you have to grind out for an item. There's been lately getting to all the weapons. There's a couple weapons that are just random drops, and some of them are just 1% drops. And it's like a tough area or a tough enemy type, and it's literally like there's only two, and they either run back to the bonfire to, reset it. It's like that kind of gets annoying, and that makes me turn off the game in like less than 30 minutes after a few runs and not getting it. But no, I am excited though, because after I do all the homework here and get all the checklists done, like, the next playthrough is literally me just playing it kind of organically in the order I want to ring the bell in the undead burg or undead parish, where the bell gargoyles are, going down to Blighttown and killing Quelaag or Quelana, I forget which one's which of the twin spider sisters, and then go into the Moonlight Garden, I think it's called, and defeating Sif one last time, and then of course making my way through Sen's Fortress to get to Anor Londo. Getting through enough of Anor Londo right before the boss gate of ONS, but that's where the blacksmith is. And once I get there and I have enough souls, it is done. So there's like I have to play through half the game again, but like the first half of Dark Souls is like a masterpiece.
And then what?
So this is the weird thing. Dark Souls 3 was on sale. I knew I was going to buy it at some point, so I bought it. But, like, why am I going to skip 2? So, like, it's $40, which feels like a bit of a ripoff. I know it's the Scholar of the First Sin edition, which is the PS4 one, but still, I'm like, eh. So, I don't know. I'll see if I'll pony up the money when I get there. But, yeah, I would imagine Dark Souls 2 is next. Or going back to Demon's Souls and maybe doing a little bit more of that platinum run, because that one intrigued me more because it forced me to play it in a different way instead of just doing like checklisty things. Like, that one felt very much like you need a magic build or some kind of long range build, or you might have to build like 2 or 3 different characters to make a build that makes complete sense. So, yeah, I'm excited about that one when I finally get back to it. And also, that game is just a lot more consistent in terms of like areas I rather not be in versus like fun areas. So I'm looking forward to getting back there.
I almost bought Dark Souls on Switch this week. I was like scrolling through stuff on Switch and just whatever, and I bought all sorts of garbage. Like, I bought Doom 64, Panzer Dragoon Remake. I bought the Genesis collection for a dumb reason. I don't remember what. and I couldn't land on anything, so I ended up going back to the Nintendo DS and playing, starting at least. This has been like my let me get through a chunk before bed, like lying in bed, on my 2DS. Adventure Time, Hey Ice King, Why'd You Steal Our Garbage? Which I had always heard about, like, fondly from outlets way back when. This is way forward developed, and it's an Adventure Time game, but it's basically Zelda 2. Like, pretty much Zelda. Did you ever play this one, either of you?
Mm-hmm. I played the demo, and then... Oh, I can't remember if I actually played, like, the full version of it or not, but I enjoyed that demo, though.
It's good. Like, it's rough, you know what I mean? Like, it doesn't feel perfect in terms of, like, combat and things like that. Like, the punching feels a little weird and whatever, but it's Zelda 2. Like, you have an overworld where you're walking around, and then you walk into towns, and then the towns open up. It's Zelda 2. But it's fun. I think one thing that's really neat on the DS is the inventory system on the bottom screen is Finn's backpack. And as you go through the world, you defeat enemies or you just find things, you'll find different, apples, pancakes, cupcakes, whatever, but you'll also find like bottles of syrup and salt and like other things. So you can mix and match ingredients to make new things that give you more health. Otherwise, you could just eat the ingredients raw and you still get health back. But as you level up and everything, right now it doesn't take much to refill my health gauge, but as you go through the world now, unlike Zelda where like you do something, like your experience levels you up, you actually have to find things in the world that level you up, and then you choose whether or not you put it into attack, speed, or health. Mm-hmm. But as you do those things, like it, you know what I mean, like you could feel the character getting a little bit better. You know what I mean? Like I put one into speed, one into power, and like I'm working my way through areas faster. And there's a lot of puzzle solving and backtracking, not unlike when I say Zelda 2, like it is so much like Zelda 2. But it reminded me that I don't think we've had licensed games for consoles like this. Like there have been, obviously. There's definitely still licensed games, but I just remember like once mobile gaming took over, so much of that stuff went there, and it just turned to trash. You know what I mean? It just was like the easiest, cheapest, whatever. Like thinking about Cartoon Network, like I downloaded some dumb Cartoon Network, like stupid mobile game that was off. Like literally, you have to tap a button as part of the thing. So I'm sitting there tapping this button on the screen on my phone for like 30 minutes. Like, wait, what am I doing? But yeah, I don't know. I miss when games like this could exist.
It's funny that you mentioned the ingredients because it sounds like Breath of the Wild before Breath of the Wild.
Kind of, yeah.
How you combine things and get better stats out of it based on what you do. So I thought that was kind of funny. But yeah, like I think a lot of licensed games tend to get overlooked because we just expect them just to be awful, just because it's a cash grab. Obviously, they're just doing this whatever. There's no real like effort put into it. So who cares if it's like just a mindless, possibly buggy mess of a game? And I think a lot of that happened on like the Gen 6 era with like PS2 and GameCube games. In the Game Boy Advance, there's just like a lot of that, but then you see something like that come along, like it has a licensed skin on it, but it's actually like a decent game. And I think it's hard to find those if you decide to sift through a bunch of that. Obviously nothing tops Corey in the House on DS,
right?
But
yeah, I think it's the one thing that sucks is like I don't think that they fully commit to the Zelda 2 piece or the Adventure Time piece, so it's kind of caught in between where like they're only given so much to do with the actual license. You know what I mean? I feel like maybe later Adventure Time games, this is pretty early in Adventure Time's air history too, so it probably wasn't fully developed where it was just kind of a goofy thing. But you know, Adventure Time went so many different places with its story and characters and world and themes that I think it could lend itself to some really cool video games. Like when you said Breath of the Wild, I'm like, oh man, what would a Breath of the Wild Adventure Time? Give me that game. Like I want that. I know they did that Pirates of the Enchiridion one that was like an open world sailing game, but I kind of got over that one pretty quickly.
Did you try the like top-down Zelda looking games?
They're
like I forget. There's two of them, I think, but they're 4-player Adventure Time dungeon crawlers or something like that.
Yeah, I played. There's one on Vita that's like Secret of the Nameless Kingdom, and then the one that was on.
I think
the other one was Explore the Dungeon Because I Don't Know.
Yeah.
Yeah, that one was fun. They were fully just like dungeon crawler or whatever. But yeah, I'm gonna look for more licensed games this week. That's my goal for the week. Outside of Balan Wonderland. Xbox had a goal this week, and it was to apparently make everyone upset. Xbox announced price increases for Xbox Live Gold, and then like 14, 15 hours later said, never mind. So originally they were going to bump up the 1 month membership by $1 and the 3-month membership by $5. Those were the only real big changes. And then I assume they got some negative feedback because this update says, we messed up today and you were right to let us know. Which I really don't like this new trend of let's complain enough and then get our way.
Well, didn't the year price essentially double? Because
I believe the year hadn't existed.
Well, the 6 month, didn't the 6 month go to 60 though?
Yes, 6 months would have been $60.
Weren't they 40 before? I don't remember the price.
It doesn't say what it.
Okay.
Well, let's see. 6 months is 40.
Yeah.
Connecting and playing with friends is a vital part of gaming, and we failed to meet the expectations of players who count on it every day. As a result, we've decided not to change Xbox Live Gold pricing. This is the part that I was surprised didn't happen when they announced the price increase. For free-to-play games, you will no longer need an Xbox Live Gold membership to play those games on Xbox. I don't know why that wasn't the case in the first place. I still don't know why they don't just make Xbox Live Ultimate Game Pass Ultimate the thing. But I guess there's a value in having both models currently.
I'm sure some people double dip.
Yeah.
And don't realize they can save money.
But I think when you're like activating those things, they don't let you fully double dip. I think they've gotten better at.
No.
Maybe not. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know. It's ever since it started, it's always been like a sour taste in my mouth about paying extra for online stuff when I'm already like paying for internet. And
I got it when it was servers and I could get behind it.
Yeah.
But then when all of these games, especially Xbox, are available on PC to play without an extra gold subscription, that's the part that's like, hold on a sec.
Yeah, then some of those games are cross-play too. It's not like they're filtered audience. Yeah, that's
either way, I'm curious to see how Xbox's stuff shapes out over the year as we get closer to xCloud or whatever they're calling it, cloud gaming rolling out on more platforms. Been paying for Ultimate for a while, and then like the fact that can't do it on iOS, like not that I'm going to find myself doing cloud gaming a whole bunch, but there are certainly instances where I would not mind playing something on my phone.
Wait a minute. So free-to-play games don't need Xbox Live Gold or whatever?
Not anymore.
Correct.
Does this include Halo Infinite multiplayer?
If that is truly going to be free-to-play, then yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that would fall in. Yeah.
Somebody could just buy an Xbox and that's it.
Yeah. Which I think is cool. I think that, having that option is neat. Or maybe they don't need an Xbox, as LG announced at CES this year that both Stadia and GeForce Now are going to be available for LG apps, as an app on LG TVs later this year, which I imagine is only a matter of time before PS Now and Xbox Cloud streaming end up this way too. How do you guys feel about this? I was thinking about this, and I don't think that I'm going to necessarily get rid of a set-top box in favor of cloud gaming, but the fact that I could just go up to bed and play one, you know what I mean? Without having to lug a box up there or try and figure out whatever other weird mirroring situation, I can just stream directly to the TV. It's pretty cool.
I think
I've never done this, so
I think it gets interesting. I mean, I don't think it's going to be for me, or maybe not even for us here, but I think it could be interesting for the low end PC market. I'm not going to throw out my consoles or my Apple TV or anything like that for cloud gaming, and I don't think I'm ever going to do cloud gaming on the TV like that. There might be an audience there. I'm not totally sure on that. Ask Google how well that's going for them. But someone that has a PC that's low end build, it might not even be it might be just something they got for school, or parents bought just to have something in the house or whatever. Using that as a facilitator for like a Stadia or almost, or a GeForce Now, or when cloud gaming comes to PC, and hopefully PlayStation Now would see the advantage. I think there's major things in that, because that PC's already got a Wi-Fi connection of some kind, most likely, or in some cases is probably right next to the router, because a lot of people keep all that home office stuff in the same area and they hardwire it. So the internet connection stuff could be there for that kind of thing. I think that's intriguing to save someone from going out to build somewhere between $1,000 to $15,000 to maybe even $2,000 on a PC, when they can get access to that stuff for whatever they have laying around with a decent internet connection.
No, that's where I'm at. I'm gonna keep buying stuff and putting it down here, but those days where now with work from home, I'm down here a lot. So there's times where I don't remember what my living room looks like. You know what I mean? So to go upstairs and sit there, but everything's down here. And if I want to play anything up there, I've got to unplug, move it. You know what I mean? But if I could just walk upstairs with a controller, plop on that couch and play, or wake up in the morning and then not get out of bed and just turn on the TV. You know what I mean? That kind of stuff. Or if I do go to bed and I have one of those nights where I'm not falling asleep, instead of playing Adventure Time on my DS, I can pick up where I left off on Yakuza 0 or something. It's not ideal, right? It's never going to be the ideal gaming situation, but it's why not? You know what I mean? The same way that where was I the other day? I went somewhere and I was stuck, and I don't want to read comic books on my phone, but all I had was my phone, and I had a couple minutes, so why not just pick up where I left off on my iPad on my phone? You know what I mean? It's not perfect, it's not ideal, it's not the experience, but for where I'm at, what I need right now, I think it works.
Yeah, I was trying to do console streaming on my iPad one day when I was way into Yakuza Like a Dragon, and if it wasn't for the audio not working, I don't know what the issue with that was. It could have been because I was on beta on my iPad, honestly, but if it wasn't for that, I would have been grinding out a dragon dungeon, or just some random fights just to level up my dudes while I was watching, I think football or something like that, or just had something in the background where I could just mindlessly do it. So the instances are there, but I don't think I'm going to permanently replace anything with it.
No, definitely not. Are you guys permanently replacing any of your time this week with specific video games?
I mean, I'm going to keep chugging away that Dark Souls Platinum. I can't tell you though if it's going to be an hour or two or 10 hours. It depends how much grind I need to do for the end of this run and how much I'm into it. I'm going to keep going through Hitman. I'll probably will complete the main thing of it this week, but of course that is, like I said, it is what it is. You'll keep going in. I think that's it for me. I don't see me getting into anything else.
Mark?
I'll probably still go through Half-Life Alyx. I think I'm getting towards the end, but I had to backtrack to an earlier save, which took me a little too far back, because the run that I'm doing, I'm carrying the garden gnome with me the entire way, because that's an achievement apparently, and I don't know if I'll play this game twice, so
Might as well do it.
I'm also doing it on my first run. And the level that it took me back to was one where I have to disarm all of the tripwires everywhere. So it's just a room filled with explosives, and I just got to go and do a little puzzle and
set the gnome down every time.
Yep, because I lost him in a firefight, and I think the level around me like clipped him out or something after some time of being negligent. So
gotta use that force pool.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, I don't know if because like an explosion happened, he just like went somewhere. I don't know, but like I usually have him in a spot. I'm like, all right, stay here. I'm gonna go fight. I'll be right back. And it's like, is this what the Mandalorian feels like? Sometimes, but like the last firefight I was in, there's like this broken down van, and you can open all the doors, even the trunk and the sliding door and everything. I might put him in that little driver's seat, shut the door, and come back.
I was gonna say buckle him in too.
Yeah.
I don't know what I'm gonna do. I keep playing around with stupid stuff as I have been, and try and find something that sticks. I don't know. I'm definitely gonna try that Balan Wonderland demo out. See how I like that. Might keep going with Yakuza 0. Might start Resident Evil 7. I don't know.
You can try Phasmophobia.
I could try Phasmophobia. I need something like I need a whole thing though. You know what I mean? Like I need to get lost in something right now, and I can't find that thing. I don't know what that is. Yeah, I do know. You can find this episode and all the rest of them, including our Game of the Year episode, on thefreecheese.com. You can hear us talk about everything we loved about 2020's video games and more. You can follow us on Twitter. The Free Cheese is at SomeFreeCheese. Marc is at aug_mental. Matt is at MattyAce131. Podcast at thefreecheese.com. You can email us, ask us anything. Let us know who you would pick from the character select screen in Soul Edge. With that, thank you, Marc. Thank you, Matt. Thank you, listener, for listening. We'll see you next week.